Okay, number 3 says simplify these fractions. We know that when we're simplifying fractions, we are finding equivalent or equal fractions. The only difference is we're going to be using a number that has using a smaller number in the denominator. To simplify these fractions, I have to find out what the factors for these numbers are, see what they have in common, and divide that number by the top and the bottom. So I'm starting out 6/8. So I have to find an equivalent number, equivalent fraction, simplify it to get my answer. So 6, what are my factors of 6? To get 6, I can multiply 1 times 6, or I can multiply 2 times 3. So my factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6. Now I have to find out my factors of 8. To get 8, I can multiply 1 times 8. I can multiply 2 times 4. What do they have in common? Well, they both have 1 in common, but I know we're not going to use that because if I divide it by 1, I'm going to get the same exact answer. They also both have 2 in common, so I'm going to divide the top and the bottom by 2. 6 divided by 2, 8 divided by 2. Let me go ahead and solve. 6 divided by 2 equals 3. 8 divided by 2 equals 4. That means that 6/8 is equivalent to 3/4. Moving on, 6/9. Let's find what's equivalent. 6, the factors are 1, 2, 3, and 6. 9, I know I could multiply 1 times 9, or I can multiply 3 times 3. So my factors are 1, 3, and 9. What do they have in common? Of course they have 1 in common, but they also have 3 in common. That means I'm going to divide both by 3. 6 divided by 3, 9 divided by 3. Let me go ahead and solve. 3 divided by 3 equals 6 divided by 3 equals 2. 9 divided by 3 equals 3. That means that 6/9 is equivalent to 2/3. My last one here, 7. Oh, 7 is one of my prime numbers, so that means the only things that I can multiply are 1 and 7. 21. What can I multiply together to get 21? Well, I can multiply 1 times 21, or I can multiply 3 times 7. So they both have 1 in common, of course, and they both have 7 in common. So I'm going to divide both by 7. 7 divided by 7 equals 1. 21 divided by 7 equals 3. It means that 7 over 21 is equal to 1/3. All right, number 4. Find each product using mental computation. All right, when I see these problems, they look huge and complicated, but they're really not. There's simple ways that we can solve these. So I'm looking at 700 times 200. Okay, I'm going to look at 7 times 2. I know that 7 times 2 equals 14. So I'm going to start by writing 14 on my answer line. Now I'm going to count up the number of zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. There was 4 zeros in my problem. So I'm going to write 4 zeros in my answer. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is my answer here. Let me see. I'm going to write my comma after the third digit. So that means that 700 times 200 equals 140,000. So we're taking the digits that we can see, multiplying them, counting up the number of zeros, and writing that at the end. So I'm going to look here. 9 times 8. I know 9 times 8 equals 72. Let me count up my zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 zeros in my problem. 4 zeros in my answer. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me go back 3 spots and write my comma. That means that 90 times 8,000 is 720,000. Moving on, 8,000 times 500. 8 times 5 equals 40. Let me count up my zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. So let me write out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. Let me count back 3 spots to write my comma. 1, 2, 3. Oh, and I could count again. 1, 2, 3. That means that 8,000 times 500 equals 4 million. Okay, for number 5, it says, what were the Fahrenheit temperatures you wrote in your math student notebook for week 3? I'm going to just cross out those directions because here I am just going to give you some numbers, some temperatures. Okay, I'm going to say the first temperature is 78 degrees Fahrenheit. The next temperature is 82 degrees Fahrenheit. The next temperature is 87 degrees Fahrenheit. The next temperature, 79 degrees Fahrenheit. And the next temperature, 84 degrees Fahrenheit. These are numbers that I made up. Okay, we still want to practice this skill here of finding the average, because the problem says, what is the average Fahrenheit temperature for week 3? We're not concentrating on week 3, and we're not going to write this in our notebook. This is just to practice finding our average. Think to yourself, what do I do to find the average? Well, to find the average, I add, then divide. So I know my average, I have to add, then divide. Okay, let me add these numbers up. Go ahead and go to the side of your sheet and add up 78 plus 82 plus 87, 79 plus 84. Go ahead and take a minute and add that up. Well, when I add up those numbers, I get 410. Okay, now for average, I have to add then divide. So I added up, I got 410. Now I have to divide. I'm going to move over here, 410. How do I know what to divide by? Well, I have to count up the numbers that I added. I added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers, so I'll divide by 5. Following my divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, and remainder policy. Go ahead and solve that now. When you divided, you should have gotten 82. That means that the average for these 5 numbers, these 5 temperatures, is 82 degrees Fahrenheit.